All right. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our Google Cloud Live event from North Asia. Thank you for your time this evening. My name is Henry. I will actually be your MC for tonight. Actually, I'm very excited to be hosting this event tonight, mainly because I think this is actually one of our first event in North Asia. So it's such an honor to be able to participate in this event. Also, we have a few amazing speakers who will be sharing their experience working in Google Cloud, sharing their career journey with you guys. So hopefully by the end of this event, you will learn more about the Google Cloud team in North Asia. What do we do? Who we are? What are the roles? So in case in the future, you become one of our customer or user, or even decided to join us as a Googler, you know who you're dealing with. So let's talk a little bit about some housekeeping work. So on the top right corner, you should start seeing a QR code appearing. So please scan that QR code and do check in for us. It will be very helpful for us to learn who is joining this event and learn more about you. One of my colleagues will also be pasting that link into the chat window on your right side. Feel free to use that. It will only take you 10 seconds. Also in the chat box, feel free to input any question you may have. We collected some questions during the registration phase, which we will try to answer at the end of the event. And maybe if you have any question you want us to answer live, feel free to put it into the chat box. We also have somebody who will be answering them directly. And here's just the agenda. We will start off with opening talk from our Kathy, our managing director for Google Cloud North Asia, who will be sharing her story on how she kind of started this whole business in North Asia. One interesting fact, she is actually the first cloud Googler in North Asia. So she started it all, right? The fact that, well, I'm here. And then we'll move into the panel, and then we will start our Q&A. So if you have any questions, feel free to use the chat box. All right, so now let me present you with Kathy. Here you go, Kathy.
Yay. So good evening, everyone, and thank you so much, Henry, for the nice intro. I hope everyone is doing well. Yes, this is also my first YouTube live event. So this is my home. Yeah, it has been super exciting to be here and to be able to do this live. So I've been with Google Cloud for more than 3.5 years. Thank you, Henry, for sharing my fun fact. In fact, I was the first one to be running or to be building the North Asia business. So I'm based out of Hong Kong, managing North Asia. And North Asia, we have 4 markets. That's Greater China, so Hong Kong, Taiwan, China, plus South Korea. So 4 exciting markets, different, 3 different languages, and different culture. It's very amazing. In fact, it has been an amazing experience for me to be the one that's building the business. And it's not just about the business growth, but in fact, seeing the people, people like the Googler like Henry, and there are a couple more Googlers that you will meet later in this event. I've been in the workforce for more than 25 years. The first half was, in IT, and roughly, half of my time spent in the cloud. So I started cloud pretty early, before 2008. If you remember, that was the year financial crisis happened. And that was, in fact, the year, just before it happened, I joined a cloud company, Salesforce, and then I had the pleasure to work in Microsoft and led the incubation team for Azure incubation across Greater China. And also I was in AWS China, managing its commercial sales business, starting the team from ground up, and building the team. And that's how I spent 5 years of my professional life in China, working in Beijing. It's an amazing city. And of course, 3.5 years ago, I got a call from Google Cloud. And in fact, a lot of people are asking me why Google Cloud. I think, for those of you who are watching this live, or you are in the industry, or you're eager to join the industry, cloud is no longer a trend. I mean, cloud is reality. It is happening now. And given what's with all the financial crisis and realizing the use of technology, and i.e. cloud, and bring business value to the business, to the customers and the market, and even experience the change of ecosystem, how we partner, how we deliver our services, how we bring value, and change the state of the game. It's truly exciting. And it has been like so busy for me, the past 3.5 years plus, but every day is exciting. Every day is fun. And of course, there are challenges. Yeah, but then the challenges are in fact being having the pleasure and having the opportunity to be the builder and to really lend something that's different, that's groundbreaking, that's no longer the traditional IT. This is in fact truly, I think, the most rewarding experience for me. Be able to bring my experience into Google Cloud, and witnessing the hyperscale growth, and of course seeing the growth in our people and our team. And we're so honored to be able to have the opportunity to serve the market, to serve our customers. So I mean, there's a lot of like team pride in what we do, and can't wait to share more about how we gone through the journey as a team, and what are the exciting futures that maybe you would like to know. So, Henry.
All right. Thank you, Kathy, for your sharing. It's quite insightful. Actually, I know you for a couple of years, and never really sat down with you to kind of formally to chat about how you got started. But yeah, I certainly agree with you, because when I first joined the team was really small. We know everybody in the region, and we fought together, and now we expanded the business, and now we got even more supportive of our technology, and that's really exciting. So thanks for sharing, and maybe we could move into the panel. So let me introduce two other panelists, Shirley and Mike. Shirley is actually our customer engineer based in Beijing. She is also our tech lead for data analytics. I work very closely with Shirley. Whenever I have data analytic problem, I reach out to her right away. She's actually our first customer engineer based in China. So if you're wondering what is the customer engineer, stay tuned. We'll probably talk about it. And we also have Mike, who is our head of partner alliance based in South Korea. According to Mike, he's a really good dancer, and he has a nickname, right? Magic Mike, XXL. All right, I'll pass it to Shirley. Maybe you could do a more formal introduction about yourself.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Henry. Hi, everyone. I'm Shirley. I'm currently sitting in Google Beijing office, and this is my favorite meeting room with the Chinese painting as my background. So my great pleasure to join today's event. A little bit of self-introduction. I joined Google 3 years ago as Henry mentioned, I happen to be the first onboarding CE, actually the first employee for Google Cloud in mainland China. So previously, HR reached out to me, and I didn't know China can be a working place. I was suggested to move to Singapore or Hong Kong. So I really appreciate Cassie grow this team and build. Now it's a big team in mainland China, and in Beijing office we have a full room of people already. And so outside of working hours, I have. I enjoy calligraphy, doing calligraphy at out of office hour. I find it can really release my busy mind from work and make me very focused and be very present. So again, my great pleasure to join today's event. I'll talk to you more later. Thank you, Mary.
All right, Mike, if you could quickly introduce yourself as well.
Thank you, handsome Annie. Hi, everyone. My name is Mike, aka Magic Mike. I mean, let me start with a fun fact about me. I'm a Korean. My name is in Korea, Ho Jong-yeol. In Chinese, Xi Zhenglie. I'm not sure whether I pronounced correctly. So I need to have my English name when I was young. So I named after Benjamin Franklin. So I think okay, Ben Hur may be a nice name, but I didn't know there's a movie called Ben Hur. So I had to change Mike later. That's a fun story about me. As Henry introduced, I am running the partner team in Korea. And just like everyone else, this is my first time for YouTube Live. I am very excited and honored at the moment. For me, my career was, was been very interesting. I've been working at IT industry for 20 years. I started my career at HP. So pretty much B2C industry, hardware businesses, and marketing and product marketing. That was my expertise. But I made a drastic change by moving to a company called Salesforce, same company with Kathy. So I had to transfer my career to B2C, B2B industry, and sales and cloud. So I struggled a lot, when I moved to Salesforce because I didn't know anything. But I was very fortunate to work with a great leaders and team, and then learned a lot. And then now I've been working at Google Cloud for the 3.5 years. This has been an amazing journey for me. Personally, very passionate about sales methodology, the B2B enterprise sales methodology. So I am doing some mentoring, volunteering for a small startup in Korea. Back to you, Henry.
All right, thank you, Shirley. Thank you, Mike. Maybe we could get started on one of the more common question. I tend to get asked this a lot, even by customer when I first meet with them, and of course by some friends. Usually they would ask, what was your journey like to Google, right? Like, how did you make it there, and why did you choose to go? Especially a few years ago when Google Cloud was pretty new. Not a lot of people have heard about it. They would tend to ask, why did you decide to go there, right? Maybe Shirley, I'm pretty sure you get asked that a lot as well, right? And maybe you could kind of share your experience in that.
Yeah, sure. So my journey to Google, I started my professional experience as a Java developer in IBM. I wrote code and fixed the bug. So as a Java developer, I worked there for 7 years. And after IBM, I joined Microsoft. I was in Microsoft's R&D organization, but since then I already had spent a lot of time to work with my customers. So I started the customer-facing job in Microsoft. Actually, Cassie was also my manager. I was very fortunate to have Cassie guiding me for my transition from a pure in-house development work to a customer-facing job in Microsoft. And for why Google Cloud. I think if you are here with us, maybe most of the audience will agree with me that Google has the fantastic technology. So my passionate with the technology is one of the main reasons that I applied this job. And even before I joined Google, Google is known as a company having the top talents here. So I wanted to work with smart people. And I was expecting in Google, I will know, maybe I can find some people similar as me with the same passion with about technology. And also before I joined Google, like the AlphaGo, those high-tech TensorFlow, automotive self-driving cars, those fantastic technologies, and all the good fame of Google. So these are the reasons that I picked Google Cloud. And my experience pretty matched that the position in Google Cloud in GCP. Back to the time I worked in IBM, I developed IBM's first public cloud products. So I was one of the developers working on that platform. And in Microsoft, I worked for Azure. I helped customer to do the architecture design. And here in Google Cloud, I'm still in the cloud world, and I'm still liking this. So
Great, good to know. You're
my
still
journey.
enjoying.
Yes.
How about you, Mike?
Well, I think very similar. But let me just start it from my career at HP. I happened to work in Singapore, HP headquarters, and then in 2010, and then back then I had a very interesting project. So HP was the number one for PC, laptops, and printers. So we had a big vision back then, put all the printable content and then all the content in HP Cloud and distributed that content to either printers or PC, laptops, and then generate the business model. That was a very early concept of some of the business ideas leveraging cloud technology. So that's how I got involved in a cloud industry for the first time. And then Salesforce. Salesforce is an amazing company, and then I had learned a lot there. But when you think about who has the core technology, Google has all the core technology. What Google has been doing was providing great technology to the developers and the users and services and product. But what Google used to do was internalize this technology, providing great services. But with cloud, it's a completely different game because we are externalizing our technologies to our customers so that they can build their own solutions and monetize it. And then even we're providing these building blocks to our partners so that they understand the customer problems and then building the solution for them. This is a great, great business model. And then as you know, the Google always welcome the partners and then thrive with the partner ecosystem. That's why I decided to join Google Cloud as a partner team. It has been a really exciting experience.
Good to know. Thanks, Mike. So now that you guys shared, why you decided to join, right? So when you first joined, onboarded, what was your impression of working here? Like, did it meet your expectation? Any, highlights, especially versus your previous, for your previous company or previous life? Did you notice right away that, like, anything you could share about that?
Yes,
Maybe
I
Shirley
can
go
share.
first. Yeah.
Yeah, I can go first. As said, I was the first one, and when I joined the office, the area that I sit was pretty empty, and I didn't expect things before I joined. I knew I would be the first one, so this is not a big surprise. Now, one thing I found a little bit surprising me is that with a browser, with a link, that I can find answers so easily for so many things. like where to grab a temporary laptop, where to grab a Chromebook. And Google has a tech stop in every office, and you don't need to ask to a person apply things. It's there, and just use your badge to swipe your badge and got those hardware, whatever you need. And like setting up those financial things, the salary, the banking things, and even most documents are signed as digital. So although I didn't have many people to ask questions, I found this user experience with asking questions online with all those internal links are pretty helpful. So I would say this is self-service company.
Yeah,
This is one of
definitely.
my first impression.
I certainly felt the same. I came from a bank, so the difference is night and days. The fact that, like you said, everything can be done, in the website, like our internal site, of course, right? That's really impressive to me. Like even booking a trip, it's so streamlined. It really shows that, while we're helping the businesses out there to transform, we are actually doing it ourselves as well, right? And we're trying to prove that with our technology. So it's pretty impressive. What about you, Mike? Right? Do you have any experience you would like to share also from the working in Korea, like
Absolutely.
compared to?
I mean, first I came to Google Office, I was surprised by the food. There's a
Oh
lot of
yeah,
great cafeteria, and then the chef every day serve great food. As a result, I gained 5 kilograms for 6 months. But
that's not a lot.
yeah, that's a lot because I've been maintaining my weight for the last 10 years.
Mhm.
But I'm half joking. But what I realized and enjoyed was about the people, the Googler. So for someone, the audience today, we call Google employee Googler, right? And then we feels like we're all family. They always help you whenever you struggle. Whether you're new to Google or you're the tenure employee there, we're always there for you. That was a great experience. And as Shirley said, a lot of things you have to do for yourself, and at the same time, and since we have Kathy here, there's a lot of moving parts at Google Cloud, and the priorities are always changing. But this is something you got to deal with and live with. And then Googlers are very responsible and they hold accountable for the work they're doing. So it create a very nice peer pressure, which is very healthy, I believe, and that's the energy driving Google Cloud businesses very nicely. I am enjoying this kind of atmosphere a lot, even in Korea.
Cool. Thank you.
And if I can second
Of course.
what Mike was saying, because I was the first one in cloud in North Asia, right? So when I joined Google, um, of course, based in Hong Kong, so I went to the Hong Kong office, and there is only one cloud Googler, that's me. But then the cross-functional teams, other Googlers from other business units, the ads division, other YouTube, Android divisions, they are generally very friendly. And what Shirley said about self-serve, I felt like going back to the office or working in the Google office. Yes, I'm in the reality show. What you're seeing in the movie. In fact, it's reality. Everything. It's very colorful, right? You can see that Henry's background, Shirley's background is very colorful. It's very cheerful, and it's well provided. Not just the food, but then team support and the willingness to help. It's all there. So that was my first experience, working in the Google office.
Yeah, I think the people factor is certainly the one thing that makes me want to come to work every day, even during the pandemic. Yeah, everybody was really helpful. I still remember
Yes.
the first couple of weeks I was there. I could just ask anyone, doesn't matter which team they are, and they're very willing to help us. And I think that's what makes us, Googly, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I want to move to another set of questions. This tends to come up a lot as well, right? Because in our job posting, when we meet with our customer, we tend to introduce ourselves mainly as field sales rep, FSR, or customer engineer, CE.
It seems like we lost Henny for a while. We can't hear you, Henny. Can you check, please?
Yeah, maybe Henry, you need to repeat what you said. No, you're on mute.
This is the beauty of life, right? You can really feel.
Yes, that's right. I think Henry's back. Yeah, now you're on mute. Try to say something.
All right, I'm back, right?
Yeah, you're back.
Yes,
Right,
you're
yes.
back.
I have to unplug my earbuds. So, all right. I just want to kind of talk a little bit about the. I'm not sure where I dropped off, but I'll start off again. Right. A lot of the time when we meet with customer, or even some of the job posting candidates, they might ask us, what is a field sales rep or what is a customer engineer CE, right? I think if you're from a tech field, tech provider field, that you might be able to map that easily to a certain role. But for someone like myself, for example, I come from a customer side or banking side, those terms might not make too much sense. So maybe we could use this opportunity to kind of clarify what those roles are, what are the expectation of those roles. Hopefully that will help some of the audience to understand a little bit more. So maybe Kathy, if you could help us and to describe, what's a field sales rep or FSR, like what's their role?
Sure, my pleasure. But I think for the audience benefit, before I go into like describe how the sales day in life looks like, I should quickly just introduce our go-to-market functions. So it's very typical, just in a typical IT company setting, we will have sales or business development that does the business development and sales engagement with the customers. That's a sales function, and internally we call them FSRs, field sales reps, representatives. And of course, depending on the account that they look after, they may be called as business development managers or key account executives. So those are job titles. And of course, another very important function would be customer engineers. That's Shirley. So customer engineers are, what as the pre-sales, in the technical context. So customer engineers would typically go in pairs with the sales. So they are the main couple, our army or troop that would be engaging the customer. And of course, other than sales, customer engineers, we do have a team called partners, right? So that's where Mike is from. And other than partners, because this is about engaging customers, engaging the ecosystem, broadening the ecosystem offerings in order to serve the customers. So other than the partners, we also have a functional team called professional services. So they are providing these, consulting, system integration, or even TAM, customer technical account management. So for customers who may need post-service or post-sales delivery or on-site support. So that's the TAM. And in general, we would call them professional services. And last but not least, marketing team. And of course, these are, we call the 5 cross-functional under go-to-market team. And of course, we are all backed up by back office functions, all the legal, policy, administration, strategy and ops. So all the cross functions that we should have. And of course, if going back to the first question is like, what is the a day in life for a typical Googler, say sales, right? In fact, if we looked at maybe just from a week perspective, from a week duration, typically on a Monday, the different in-market teams, say Hong Kong team, Taiwan team, or China team, they would have their own team huddle. And what we call it internal is a term that I learned in Google. We call it powwow. So it's powwow. So it's kind of like, pump up the spirit. It's really a team huddle that everyone gets together, not just the sales, but then just cross-functional. We meet together for depending on the size of the team. So everyone would meet in the powwow and talk about, what the week is going to be like, or sometimes, there are like, celebrations. Say, hey, this week is, so and so, a Googler's birthday. So powwow is sort of like the, pump up the spirit type of team unity meeting. So after the powwow, typically then we don't really, micromanage, because everyone is professional and everyone has its role to play. So depending on the role, and of course, for the go-to-market teams, like cross-functional teams, partner, customer engineer, sales, whatnot, they would be carrying their functions. So for sales and CEs, they would likely be buddying up and visiting customers, having a lot of customer engagement calls or meetings. And of course, in the pandemic, we often leverage Google Meet and GBC just to continue the rhythm. And of course, throughout the week, on every Friday, and yes, for those of you who watched the movie, in fact, again, this is a very, it gave me a lovely surprise, in fact, to realize and to know that every Friday afternoon, we do have internal, what we call TGIF. So everyone knows TGIF stands for Thank God It's Friday. In fact, it's every Friday afternoon, I think roughly 1 hour, 4:30 to 5:30-ish, right? That's, in fact, a social gathering time that cross-functionally, not just cloud, but, if you have the time, if we have the time, we would go there and just social and mingle. And then our food team would be super nice to provide, food and drinks for everyone to sort of like celebrate the hard work, and just share experiences. So that has been like something that really opened up my eye, because I thought maybe TGIF, once in a while gathering, maybe on a quarterly basis. But then, in fact, yes, in Google, it is on a weekly basis. So that's something that, a lot of the Googlers love it.
Thank you, Kathy. Very detailed about
Sure.
our roles and what day to day. It's like, yes, TGIF, just like the movie. That's also my first feeling when I first saw the scale of that event on a weekly basis too, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Shirley, do you mind if you kind of elaborate maybe a little bit more on the customer engineer role? I think at least from my engagement, I'm not sure about you, but pretty sure it is. Lots of people ask, what is a customer engineer, right?
Yeah. I actually was asked when I took some interviews. Interviewee would ask what is customer engineer in some company. Actually, as Cassie introduced, we are taking the as a pre-sales role and taking care of the technical part. So we usually we pair with sales and to engage customer from both business and technical perspectives. So it's a pre-sales role. And as for my daily life, we spend much time with our customers to understand their business use cases, to understand their requirements, and to introduce them what we can offer. And when even after they decided to use GCP, we still work closely with customers to help them use GCP effectively in a cost-saving way and in the most efficient way to resolve their business problems. So we spend much time with customers we go to customer office or invite customer to Google offices. And also we, besides sales, we work with the internal teams very closely, as Cassie also mentioned. Like if the customer need a partner to support them during a delivery or kind of effort, we will work with partner team. And we have PSO team, professional service. So we also work with PSO and product team. When we collect customers' feedback about GCP, about our product, we'll provide those feedback to the product team, and they will improve our product to meet our customers' requirements better. And even outside Google Cloud, sometimes we provide one Google solution to our customers. So we work with Android team, with YouTube, with teams in Google, but outside Google Cloud, we work together. So we collaborate a lot in the company. We are definitely not alone supporting customers.
Yeah, I used to be a CE or customer engineer as well, and really enjoyed that role. Personally, I feel it's a very flexible role. Like we do all the things that Shirley just mentioned, and sometimes we even have to kind of sit into a customer's architecture team and almost become like one of their team members to help them iron out the whole architecture. How do they adopt some of the newer technology or design pattern into enabling new capability for them? So it's very exciting, very fun, and that's why I enjoy, my every day. I get to see, different problem and tackling them with different solutions. Yeah. And as Kathy mentioned, right, there's also a partner team, right? How we have to engage the partners and maintain that ecosystem. Maybe Mike, if you could kind of elaborate that a little bit, like about the partner team for us.
Sure. Thanks, Andy. I mean, I was invited to this YouTube Live as one of the member from partner team. This means a lot to the partner, and this is a very clear sign how Google appreciate the value of the partners. So COVID-19 really accelerate the digital transformation for the customer. Digital transformation takes a long time, and normally the cloud could be a vehicle for this digital transformation journey. So when you drive the vehicle, normally the account team together with FSRs and CE, they are the driver. But since this is a long journey, you need to have someone who could navigate you and then help you when you lost, check the GPS together with you, um, you know, um, give you some snacks when you're tired. That's the partner. So the partners work very closely with Google account team from top to bottom, from the strategy to even their org structure are nicely aligned. And then there's a lot of things we're going together with the partners. And then if I briefly explain the types of the partners we working very closely, from global SIs like Accenture, Deloitte, PwC, or the local SIs and managed service providers and some vertical solution providers and technology partners. There's a very different types of planners, but we all collaborate together to serve the customer.
Cool. Thank you. Um, let's see. I guess we touched on that a little bit, but there's another common questions from our engagement, like in terms of hiring, right? What do you think we usually look for from a candidate? Or like, what kind of competency do we think it's actually important? Maybe I'll let Kathy you to answer that question for us.
Sure. So, well, how we hire, right? Obviously, we are growing. We are still growing aggressively, and therefore we're hiring. So look out for open jobs, through different markets, job opening, listing, and apply. And typically, you would get a call from the recruiter, have a conversation, and depending, and I guess based on the conversation and the role fitness, then the next step would be to set up on-site interviews. And in Google, we do have 4 on-site interviews to meet different for the candidate to meet different Googlers and to share your experiences, demonstrate your abilities depending on the role, and answer questions that you may have. Learning, and at the same time learn from the way you know how Googlers work in Google, right? So in fact, there are also, when I interviewed, was going through the interview process, um, I looked up Google. I did Google search, and it's like, oh, what does Google interview looks like? And of course, some suggestions or information popped up, say, oh, there's brain teaser questions, blah blah blah, right? And in fact, that's not the case. We have 4 attributes. The brain teaser is something that's in the movie. Okay, we have 4 attributes for any candidates to go through. So they are, the first one, general cognitive abilities, and in general, you will hear us call GCA. So GCA, in fact, is and I guess it's an evaluation. It is an evaluation to evaluate someone who can learn, and very agile and adaptive to new situations. So how you learn matters, how you problem solve matters. And it's not about the degree that you get or the GPA scores that you have. If that's the case, I would never get the job. I have the low GPA. So, after GCA, the second interview, typically it's about role based. So, like if you're interviewing for sales or partner or customer engineer, obviously it's very straightforward. It's knowledge based. We just need to make sure that you have the experience and background and skills that will set you up for success, as you join Google. And the third would be on leadership. So leadership is not by, we're not looking for VP. Well, of course, we will hire for VP, but then it's not about job title. In fact, it's about how you, examples, you behave and you lead through, navigating challenges or, orchestration of cross-functional collaborations, and of course, be able to like pull the team together, lead, and bring the necessary business impact. And last but not least is, Henry mentioned this term once, it's called googliness. So it's yeah, I don't know if you Google, you will find this word, but then it's called googliness. In fact, this is a term that we use internally. In fact, it's sort of like an evaluation to make sure that you can thrive here continuously. It's not just passing the bar. but continuously, because we're growing so fast and the company is dynamic. How you thrive internally, whether you're a team player, whether you can solve, deal with ambiguity and solve challenges and be able to action. That's important. So, that's very interesting for, I would say, for attributes that help us determine um, who to onboard and become a Googler.
Cool. Thank you,
Yeah.
Kathy.
Sure,
I know we would love to share a little bit more on this topic, but
sure.
we're starting to see some questions in the chat. So maybe we can leave some time to answer some of those questions from the audience. So let's see. So there's a question about, are the CE assigned to the customer team for the entire duration of the engagement, or will there be a different CE assigned to the customer? I'll take a stab at that first. So it really depends, right? Like C is usually assigned to each opportunity. So if you're working with a customer with a lots of projects, so yes, you're engaging for that with that customer for a long duration. But whether you're actually engaged to the entire duration of a project, usually no. You would be handling a lot of the work in the, I would say, in the from the beginning for sure, and sometimes in the middle. But once the customer is on track, they are starting to have that foundation layout, the design already solidified, then usually the CE would kind of move on, right, to another project. But if the customer really want to have the support from Google or any Google engineers to help with them, certainly they could work with our professional service team, who we would then assign as different sets of engineers there, or work with Mike's team, engage a partner, and the partner will actually engage their teams of engineers who are very familiar with GCP into the projects. So hopefully that kind of answered us questions. I'm not sure if Shirley, you want to supplement a little bit more on that.
Yeah, 100% agree. Yeah, we see we work with the customer closely, and it can be a long journey for a big project, complex project to onboard. Well, I see here. I see the question mentioning different CE. Actually, we are all the same. Customer engineer, technical issues will be there to resolve it with the customers. And there are slightly different roles in the CE team. As me, I'm currently a data analytics specialist. I'm still in the CE team, but I'm focusing on the data analytics projects. So that's the only difference. And as Henry mentioned, if people need PSO, need a delivery team, somebody to deliver the project, that's another team.
Yeah. Cool. There's another question. What GCP certificates or event would you recommend to someone who would like to pursue the roles requiring both technical and business acumen? Interesting questions. If I split it into two, if you want to kind of go for technical, I think our professional architect cert would definitely help, because while it's kind of GCP specific, but the knowledge that we assess from that cert are kind of general from in the cloud era, right? How do you build scalable, highly available applications, right? You would be able to get out of that exam or the study material. In terms of business acumen from events, not sure if any of you wants to answer that, but honestly, as a CE, it's not just purely technical. You also want to have we're expected to have some sort of business acumen, right? Because all solution you provide, right, you don't want to just provide like purely technical solution that doesn't make any business sense, right? So you still have to consider the economics behind it, right? According to the customer's business needs, right? We have to learn how to strike that balance between technical constraint and business demand. So I think that's what a role of CE does. But in terms of cert and events? That's a tricky one. Kathy, would you know like any recommendation for this person?
Technical certifications, I think I have to,
No, for the
leave it
business as well.
Business.
business acumen, right? So if it's for business, I think communication will be key, because you are constantly interacting with external, external meaning potential customers, existing customers, potential partners, and internal, right? So I would say communication would be key. And of course, business acumen. It's, well, ideally, you should watch more YouTube videos about what the Google Cloud offerings, and Google Cloud differentiations are, right? It's very convenient. Just search, and learn, because that's knowledge, and I'm sure that everyone comes in. We already have requirements in terms of years of experience or certain industry knowledge. So those are sort of like highlighted already in the job opening, the qualification, the requirements, and just ready yourself. Make sure that you digest the information, internalize, and even think about how would you engage your customer if you now work in Google Cloud? Ask yourself that question. Walk it through mentally. Then, or even play wear the hat as a customer.
Yeah.
Figure out how the customer would want to use Google Cloud. If you have that in mind, I think you're gonna cruise through RRK, role-based interview.
Yeah, thanks, Kathy.
Yeah,
I just want
that's
to
a
kind of
tip.
add on to that, right? Like, not just about like the interview, but usually when we engage customer, have that kind of business case mindset, right? You're tackling an issue, you should better be able to identify that and then come up with the appropriate solution, right? That makes sense both financially and technically. I think that's very important. Um, there's a question. Could you share some tips on dealing with ambiguity? Like, what specifically would you like to see in candidates? How they should react to the question? Um, Interesting. I guess some of the question tends to be vague, and that's the whole point, right? Sometimes, or a lot of the times, there might not be a correct answer, right? We want to evaluate you not by you knowing the correct answer, but how you think, right? So I guess a tip for you, right? If you feel ambiguous, the question, I mean, um, talk a little bit more about what's in your mind, right? Like your thought process. Don't try to hide it and come up with something and then give us an answer. Talk what you're thinking. I think that would actually help us assess, how you think, and that's actually what's important. And not sure if you guys want to supplement on that.
Yeah, Annie,
Yeah.
I definitely agree with you. Go ahead, Shelly.
Yeah, I'll share a tip. Actually, as an interviewer, I never expect the interviewee knows every question. So
Yeah,
it's very natural. It's normal that this question you don't have an answer or you don't have a perfect answer. And I think the interview, you can try to make the interview interactive. You can ask questions as well if you want to narrow the scope or if you want to direct the conversation to the area that you are familiar with, you are expert in. So you can ask back. And as myself, I feel that, as Henry mentioned, if you don't know the answer, you admit it in with the willingness to learn. I think that can be good enough. Don't lose confidence when you don't have an answer.
yeah.
Mm.
So there's another one. what is the learning opportunity like in Google? Like, will employees usually have time, resources to learn new stuff? Well, certainly, I would say, right? There are so much learning opportunity, it will overwhelm you. There's like Googler to Googlers sharing, and then there's official training, there's SME training, there's always new things because, as Google, we always come up with new technology, right? A lot of the things that we have are developed or designed in-house, like Kubernetes is a good example, Istio another one, right? Hence, we have a lots of internal training to train up on these cutting edge stuff, more than you could swallow, I can tell you. But this is also one reason why I guess people like me and Shirley really enjoy our roles, because while we're working, we're learning constantly. So when you ask whether there's a learning opportunity, I would say every day I'm learning something new. I could never get caught up to the latest things because we have new things every day. Shirley, do you have anything to add to that?
Definitely. Yeah, it's like a school here at a university, and all the things, and even not technical things. You want to learn yoga, you want to learn meditation, and presentation, hobbies like ping pong, tennis. I think you can still find good learning materials here.
Yeah. Another question. Is it possible for someone who has little or no experience in cloud, but has several experience in either on-prem, technical sale, telco, in-house, etc., to be hired as a technical sales or CE role in Google Cloud? And is there any suggestion of what to prepare on the resume or interview for that role? Well, I guess we kind of answered the second part of the question, but if you ask whether it's possible for someone with no experience in cloud, I guess I would say yes. Because again, as long as you have that skill required from that role, with the same process, with the same thought, with the appropriate thought process, as well as all those criteria that Kathy mentioned, like how you think, general cognitivity and everything, we evaluate in a quite an unbiased manner, right? Of course, your experience is important, but we would consider that as almost like a bonus, right? You bring in an additional perspective. So I wouldn't say just because you have no experience in cloud, you're not going to get hired. That's not true.
Yeah, in fact, if I may add, I talk about the willingness to learn, right? And Henry Shirley mentioned it just now. In fact, because there are abundant information, and if, for example, for sales, client-facing roles, we absolutely want to hire candidates with solid customer knowledge, industry knowledge, because that matters. Because what we're looking for is, in order for us to be successful, in order to bring the value to the customer and to assist the customer to go through, let's say, either on just ramping up a web services or going through a major digital transformation, customer empathy is important. And customer empathy has a lot to do with whether you have the awareness, the knowledge about what's needed. What are the business challenges that the customer has right now? Like, what are the customer's competition that the customer is facing, and that maybe Google Cloud can help to provide additional differentiating value. Right? What is the business problem that the customer wanted to solve? So if you have that, if you have that sort of like insights or empathy, and of course have your own point of view, and if you're willing to learn, I don't see why not. Right? I don't see why not.
Thank you, Kathy.
Sure.
Let's answer one last question before we kind of wrap up. And this is obviously for Mike. The question is, I want to know how Google pre-sales team and partner team collaborate. It's for you, Mike.
Okay, thank you, Andy. I mean, as I explained before, we work in hand because Google, no matter how much we try, there are always a surging demand from the customer. That's why we try to work very closely with the partner team, and then partner team quickly learn from our pre-sales team, and then they can easily replicate this success. And then even sometimes they build their own vertical solutions or point to solutions on top of Google Cloud, which is a great business model for them. So partner team, we take care of partners' health and wealth. So make sure their business cash flow is running nicely, and then their business is becoming profitable. That's why the partners love to working with the Google Cloud, and this is our winning strategy.
Thank you, Mike. Lots of great questions. Apologies that we don't have time to go through all the questions, but I really would like to, thank you for your participation from the audience as well as from our speakers today. So I think thank you again for joining us tonight, this evening. Hopefully you learned something from our Google Cloud team from North Asia. There's a QR code again. This is a different one. So if you could actually go there or go to that link and provide us with some feedback, that would be very helpful. We are looking forward to run some similar event in the future. So if you could give us a little bit more feedback on how we could do better, we will certainly take those comments. So thank you again for joining us. Take care and stay safe.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Stay
you.
safe.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.